Just wanna dance, want a simple romance, nothing more, nothing less from you. Just stay the night, then we leave when it's like nothing wrong, it's alright with you. No ties.
What is going on, my fellow reef builders, and welcome to another installment here at the studio. We are gonna get some legit work done because I have some backup. We got Evan in the house, and today we are going to start basically souping up the Mode Aquariums retail rack system for fish. And you know, this system is a really great foundation for a wide variety of tasks, for fish stores, for freshwater, for saltwater. But with the equipment that I have access to and some of my preferences, I already see some things that I want to change on the system, which is why I haven't got it up and running yet. So the primary thing we're gonna do today is drill these tanks. And so the only thing is, there's a little bit of a slight challenge because the way it's plumbed up, there is no practical way to pull the tanks out as they are. Sure, I could take out the drains and just kind of redo it all, and I'm not gonna do all that. I think half the tanks I've drilled have been in place. I've drilled a handful of tanks with water and reef and animals in them, so I have no reservations about drilling these tanks right here. So the way that the Mode Aquariums are delivered is they come with a return in each corner that basically just kind of passes through a small section of the glass lids, but it only provides water flow into one of the aquariums, into just, you know, so there's only one outlet here, one there. And so instead of doing that and not having water flow in each of the different compartments, that's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna drill each tank, basically have one return for each compartment so we can make sure to get that good water flow moving throughout each tank. Therefore ensuring that all the waste gets swept away and goes down the drain. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting kind of a dual purpose video. One, we're building up the Mode retail rack system to finally be used for fish. And two, this will be kind of a how-to DIY and I guess my tips and tricks for how to drill glass. So we're gonna gather up some tools and get started to drilling these tanks. Okay, so in a perfect world, the best way to drill glass is take the tank out, have it on a flat level surface, and use a drill press that you can use to push the bit perfectly perpendicular to the tank wall. But a lot of times when we're doing aquarium stuff, we just don't have that luxury. So we're gonna use a little bit trickier technique, and I'm gonna drill all these tanks in place. So the first thing to know when doing this is starting the hole is the hardest part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a jig that's gonna be positioned exactly where I want it. But now we have to start from the other end and determine exactly what bulkhead size we're gonna use. So there's a 3/4 inch bulkhead, and I have selected a fresh, semi-fresh, I've not used this very many times, glass drill bit. So that is one of the kind of important things if you want a really good clean cut, is to use a relatively fresh drill bit. These used to be $100 a piece. And they're coated with you know, some diamond bits here, little small pieces of diamonds. But I don't know what happened, but over the last few years, they've become like $30 for a whole set of them. So anyway, this is our 3/4 inch bulkhead. Make sure it goes into this nice and clean. We've got a little bit of play, but plenty of room for the gasket to catch on the glass. All right, so we know exactly what hole size we're gonna be making with the glass drill bit. And then use a wood hole saw, make sure that's a little bit bigger than the glass drill bit. And so now we're gonna basically be making a jig here. And the most important thing that this is for starting the hole. I don't have to use the jig for the entire thing, just kind of get it started. So I'm gonna make a hole on this right where I want it, and we're gonna clamp it to the back of the wall. And that should get us a nice clean start. So that's the most important way to start. And when we get going, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things to be mindful of when you're drilling glass. We now have our jig made up. As you can see, I've got it clamped 4 times. I mean, if you want to be a little bit more safe, you'd have this piece of wood going all the way down the bottom, but this is really just kind of a safety precaution we're showing for you guys. And before we get started, an important note is you really want to lubricate that glass as you're drilling it out, because you need something to cool the bit, cool the glass, and to take away the glass a little bit. So most people would like take their tank outside and run a hose on it, or put together like a little bit of a dam with plumber's putty. But over the years, I've just simply used a thin siphon of water coming from somewhere, and or just somewhere above the tank. So what I've done is put together a little reservoir here and just a thin water line that's going to be siphoning right down into the hole, and I'll be throttling that as I go along. So I guess the last thing to note is a preference for drilling from the outside in or the inside out. And in my experience, I probably have, I don't know, maybe like 150 glass holes under my belt. And the exit point of where you drill your glass, unless you're using a perfect drill press and like carbide powder and all the things, you're always going to get a slight chipping. And since the gasket, that is your primary seal for keeping the water from leaking out, is going to be on the inside, I prefer to go from the inside out, so I make sure that the inner part of the hole is clean, and then there'll be a slight chipping on the outside. But honestly, if you do it right and you do it slowly, it's not even that much of a big deal, not that much of a difference as far as the direction of the hole is concerned. So just as long as you make a clean hole, that's most important. So we're gonna get started with the jig, and then we'll take it off once we've got enough and just freehand it real nice and slow. So let's get to it. There's enough kinks in there right now, so it doesn't really matter too much. And I'm just gonna make sure that it flows over the hole saw. There we go, just like that. Don't wanna get it too far in though. Man, this hole is not fitting this bit at all, but it should be enough. Okay, so with the help of the jig, we got the hole started. And before you guys go flaming me in the comments, gonna make sure to put on some glasses. I know these are not safety glasses, but they're something. And I know a lot of us think that we're impervious and this or that has never happened, but you can never be too safe. So no matter who you are, make sure to put on some safety glasses, and if you can, make them this stylish. I don't know where my safety glasses are right now, but I'm not gonna risk my eyesight with some flying glass shards. So let's push through this first hole and see how it turns out. All right, so right there you can see that with the help of the jig, we've created a very nice groove for the hole saw to sit in, the glass hole saw. You know, if the hole in our jig was a lot better, if the hole in our jig was a lot tighter, I would probably just use that to guide the bit all the way in. However, with the jig, it's really challenging to get that lubricating and that cooling water to flow through. So now that I have a pretty nice groove, we're just gonna freehand it carefully, take our time. We're not cutting, we are grinding a hole through, and pretty confident this is gonna go pretty good. So let's get started with that first hole.
You can show me a good time. I don't need promises, honestly, no big deal. As long as you can show me a good time, I don't care. Oh, 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 oh. So don't you put pressure on me to give into us. All I need is short-term devotion.
Oh, I feel it.
I don't wanna be so emotional.
Okay, success on the first hole. You can see we've made it through pretty cleanly, and there's a funky little shape where I had to cut out basically the plastic film. And I just want to show you kind of like the raw hole before I pass the hole saw through it a little bit more. So, you know, it's actually a very, very minor degree of chipping here, and I actually think the plastic film helped there, but I didn't really like it because it didn't tell me when the hole was finished. And you can see there's just a little tiny bit of glass right there. So I'm gonna bring the hole saw back through it and clean that up just a little bit. Again, treat the glass hole saw not like a cutting tool, but like a grinding tool. So we're gonna clean that up and hopefully fit test one of our bulkheads, and then we'll know that we have a nice system to continue with the rest of the tanks. All right, here we go, moment of truth. I've cleaned up the hole a little bit. I got my bulkhead here. I'm pretty sure it's gonna fit nice and neat. So let's give it a look-see. And there we go. Yes, we have ample coverage right there over the entire hole. I honestly would like to have a little bit less play right there, but this is still gonna do the job. So, all right, so one hole down, and we're just gonna continue drilling some more. All right, so after further review, I've decided that the hole is actually a little bit too big for the bulkhead that I'm trying to use. So I feel like I'm missing a hole saw of that right size. So I am gonna put this project on hold until I find the right hole saw at home, or just order another one in, because this one's got a little bit of play and I can live with that, but we're gonna, I wanna drill a whole lot more holes in this system. So we're gonna come back at this another day with the right tools, because when you have the right tools, it makes the job so much easier and the end result so much better. So, all right, we'll see you in 5 seconds of the power of editing. All right, everybody, a week has passed, and I'm very, very glad that I took some time to consider what it is I wanted to do with the system. When I left you, the hole that I made for this 3/4 inch bulkhead was just a little bit too large. And then I realized I don't really want to put in a 3/4 inch bulkhead in every tank and then step it down to 1/2 inch lock line anyway. So this one's pretty great because it's the biggest tank. I'm gonna split it into 2 1/2 inch lock lines. But I took a step back and again, gave a little bit more thought and consideration into how I wanted to plumb everything as carefully and as efficiently as possible. And since I needed some parts, I reached out to my friends over at Bulk Reef Supply, who hooked it up with the lock line I needed, the bulkhead adapter, and the hole saw that's perfectly sized for the holes that I need. And as you can see, last night I was feeling good, and I went ahead and just really busted out all of the holes, and you can see they're up there. So one of the reasons they look a little bit weird is because they have this black film. There's a black film on the back of the tank, and this is what we have Evan doing right now. He's kind of cutting around it, cleaning it up, and we're going to spray paint that. And so one thing I wanted to mention is I said this video was going to be a DIY how to drill glass. Don't drill glass like me. I did a terrible job. I did some of my worst holes, because the thing is, when you have one hole to drill, yeah, sure, you have the patience to take 20 to 30 minutes and just very, very slowly push on through. But when I was feeling good last night and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes to drill, I was like a little bit anxious. Kind of some of my worst holes ever. I gotta show you this one, because it's like comically bad. You can kind of see right here just how much of a chip or like a edge there is on the outside. But that's okay, because it's not structural. And since I went from the inside part of the hole is actually really clean. And this is the part of your bulkhead gasket that is actually gonna be doing the sealing up. So that is a recap on all of the mental planning that I've been doing. We got the holes drilled, and we just got back from Home Depot, and I believe we have all the parts that we need for the return and for the distribution, for the manifold of everything that we're gonna need. One thing that I was happy to do when I connected with Bulk Reef Supply is realize that I don't want ball valves on the back of the tank because I'm never ever gonna see them. So this is gonna meet up right to the end of the tank, and I have a tiny bit of lock line to play with. More than enough for this fish system purposes. So I think we've done enough stalling, and I think we have everything, every last little piece we need. So Evan has cleaned up those holes. I'm gonna start getting some parts kind of laid out, and if everything goes well, we're gonna have this tank flowing by tonight. So let's pick up where you left off and start putting some stuff together. Alrighty, here we go. Finally got the fish system with the custom plumbing job. And I've never done this before, but I actually plumbed up the riser tube 1.5 inches, a lot more than I've ever done, but I really want to take advantage of the efficiency of DC pumps for high water flow, but not too much pressure. So it came out pretty good. The most important thing of this whole entire job was making sure to have one good controllable outlet for each tank. That way I can adjust the water flow individually based on the fish that are in here. So basically the feed water is also going to be providing the water flow inside the tank. That being said, we only did one extra trip to the Home Depot, but I'm a little bit embarrassed. I don't know if I'm rusty or what, but this side right here, you can kind of see that riser tube's a little bit at an angle. There's a little bit of tension. You know, we had to manhandle a couple pieces into place. What would have really helped, and something I'm gonna make sure to have for the next plumb job, is flexible PVC, also known as Spaflex. There was actually a couple places here where that would have made everything so much smoother, less pressure on the system and everything. But thankfully this glass is pretty thick. So yeah, now all that's left to do is to clean up, put the system in place, fingers and fins crossed that there's no leaks, you know. And the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is that this return, there's two types of leaks that can happen. One, it can leak from the plumbing itself that we put together, or two, we have 6 new holes in the tanks that, you know, we're counting on to have a well-seated gasket. So you know what? We're just gonna go, we're just gonna roll with it. We are gonna clean up the parts, we're gonna put the system back in place, start filling it up with regular fresh water, let it run, and see what happens. So let's do that, and hopefully we can get the system running and alive tonight. Okay, it's the morning after, and the system has been running all night, and no major leaks, and I am just so thrilled. 2 things. One, I am thrilled to finally have the system running. So thank you very much, Eric and Mode Aquariums, for your patience. And 2, It really, really was worth it to take my time and to set up the system the way that I wanted. So as you can see, or maybe not see, depends on your point of view, is all the returns are right at the top left corner of each tank, right there. There's still a lot of bubbles here because just filled up the system. Let's see if we can get in there. Yeah. So basically I have a lock line with the built-in flow valve for each tank so I can get minute control of each aquarium. So I've got dedicated water flow and an inlet for each aquarium, which is going to be great for a few different reasons. I mean, saltwater fish are used to water flow, but anytime I need to flush out a particular tank, I'll be able to turn up the water flow on each system. So one of the things that's also interesting about this system that I've never done before is I'm using a Vectra L1 pump for the return. So this thing can do up to 3,000 gallons of water per hour, but since it is a controllable DC pump, we know that those don't have like the greatest possible pressure. This one has a good 20 foot of head capability, but going through all these different outlets definitely takes a hit. So what we did, or what I did, what me and Evan did, is something really different. I've never done this before, but I used inch and a half just on the riser, and then it goes down to 3/4 inch, and then it feeds into the 1/2 inch bulkhead. So really interesting. I'm actually very pleased with the performance of the pump. I wasn't sure if it was going to be able to push that high through small outlets with pressure, but I can tell you I actually have the pump turned down. That the pump is turned down because it's providing more than enough water flow. So the tank is alive. The system is alive. We have water flowing. Still need to add a heater, skimmer, some kind of mechanical filter, but right now the tank is alive. It's going. It's not going to be dry anymore. However, I don't have the most experienced plumbing, thick, wide diameter, inch and a half plumbing, and I didn't add nearly enough solvent. So there's a couple really, really minor leaks, and I think I'm probably just gonna put a little JB weld right there on that seam, so they're really accessible, and they're really slow, so not a big deal. But man, really want to thank Evan for his help in putting this together. Very soon, I'm going to start bringing in some fish population that'll eventually going to go into the aquarium displays. So I already have corals that aren't awake over there yet, but you know, I'm pretty much going to do my trinity of algae grazers for tangs. So probably like 6 yellow tangs, 6 convicts, 6 tominis, and those are all go out in mixed trios in the systems. Over there, you can see we got some progress over there too. So there's a lot of pieces falling into place here at the studio. I want to thank everybody for their patience. Still trying to balance out, you know, getting some good work done here at the studio, running the website, and sharing videos with you. So, but now that we have a brand new fish system, very soon I'm going to put in an order for some common fish, maybe 1 pet fish. I'm really leaning towards a harlequin tusk because I've never had one. I think he'd be really great for that center tank until I can get one of those fish tanks over there ready. But yeah, just firefish, bangais, royal grammas, just really cool classic fish. So I hope you guys enjoyed following along with the Mode Aquarium Systems build. I cannot wait to have some pet fish in here because corals are great to look at, but they don't really give any feedback. So check back soon for some more updates here on the studio because we're going to be really firing on all cylinders very soon. So thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video, and comment. Prove to me, continue to show me that you guys are the best commenters in the world. So yes, there's the Mode Aquarium Systems. It's flowing, it's alive, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.